Okay, so you got to California and everything's going great. You're married. Okay, here's some questions for you. I'm into cars. Tell me about the cars you had in your lifetime, before and during marriage. Dad, tell me some of the cars that you owned.
I don't know if you have enough memory on that for that. The first car I owned was
the cars you remember.
Yeah, okay, I remember them all, I think. The first car I bought was a 1937 Chevy that you could only put it into first and third. It had no second gear, and when the family friend tried to sell it for us, because I didn't have a New York State license at the time, the front wheel fell off when he was taking it over to a dealer to sell. So that was the first car. The second car was a 41 Chevy that I had while I was in service in New York for a few months. And then the next car was a Morris Minor that I bought while I was over in England with the Air Force, which I traded in before we came back, before I was due back in the States, on a 1953 Volkswagen, which I drove out to California. And when I got out of service, shortly after we got back here, I traded it in for a 1954 MGTF 1500, which I drove around Southern California. And then, because I was going with my musical group to try to get on the road, I traded it in on a 55 or 6 Plymouth Savoy, two-door
Belvedere or just Savoy?
A Savoy, the least expensive, stick shift.
4-door?
Two-door.
Oh.
And when I took that up to Montana, drove it back to New York, came out to California again, and I don't know if I recall the next...
Austin Healey, MK3000. When did you have that?
Okay, that probably was the next car. Before I had the Austin Healey, I had a 1954 or 5 or 6 Simca Arande 1300 that I drove around LA, traded that in on the 1958 Austin Healey, and then a year or so later when we got married, I traded that in on a 1959 Studebaker Lark, 6-cylinder with column shift.
So what you're telling me is when you get married, all your hopes and dreams go out the window?
Completely. They go out the plexiglass side draft on the sports car.
What about you, Mom? What cars did you own that you kind of remember? Married or non-married?
Okay, well, before I got married, our neighbor, Henry McLaughlin, was selling his Oldsmobile, and I bought it. And
you remember how much you bought it for and what year?
$50, and the year was 1951, was it?
I think it was 51.
51. It was a 51. No, he had it in 51. I must have bought it about 58 or 56, 7. And
you didn't drive?
And I didn't drive. I was taking driving lessons. So my brothers drove the car. My brother Sidney drove it.
So you sat in the back and they chauffeured you around?
Yes, they did.
Is that no wonder you're a princess? Yeah,
yes.
At an early age.
Yes, I am.
And what other cars?
Okay, and then when Daddy and I got married, we bought a Studebaker, a 50. Well, let's see, what was the year? A 55.
It was a 51. Studebaker convertible.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Loved it.
Gutless wonder.
Yes.
Oh, it was.
It was beautiful. It was a plum car.
Yes, it
plum.
was.
And then what about you had a couple Jaguars?
No, only one Jaguar.
And that's because it had the Prince of Darkness electronics, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Lucas. Prince of Darkness. And that was a disaster, that car.
But I had Jack Fever.
Ellie had jag fever, and jag fever is never cured until you own one. And so we owned one. And that was a 3.8 sedan. When it was running, it just felt beautiful.
Wonderful.
Felt beautiful.
Remember you drove on Coldwater Canyon?
Yeah, it was great. And then, I had a 51 Chrysler sedan that took us to Vegas, actually. It was a black four-door. And then the company VP sold me his Chrysler Imperial one year. We also had a Dodge Dart sedan that we ordered from the factory with a 6-cylinder and shift. We took that over on a Southwestern trip. Then we had a 1957 or 67 Chevelle convertible.
Really?
Yes, that we bought new. And
A 67, so Jeff and Hallie were already born.
We traded
Yes.
in the Jaguar for that one.
I think so, yeah.
Yes, we sold the.
No, we sold the Jag.
That's
we sold
right.
The
He
Jag.
said, one of your vice presidents said to me, "You mean you sold the Jaguar for that?"
And after that, I forget what the next car was, but we've had a number.
We've had Buicks.
We had a couple of Buicks, a 56 hardtop, and we had a 54 convertible, old Yaller.
A lot of those. Now let me ask you this: just like cars, homes. What was your very first house, and then where did you go from there? Houses.
Well, I don't mean to usurp the conversation, but the first house was a story because we were paying $85 rent in the apartment.
Can you imagine?
And we said, well, let's see if we can rent a house to see what a private house is like,
Because
owning and
we
living in
only
it.
lived in apartment
We'd
house.
only lived in apartments. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so we went to a realtor, a lovely man, and he took us to this house in Burbank. Was it Burbank or North
North
Hollywood? North Hollywood.
But I have to say, he said, how much can you, we wanted to rent a house. He said, how much can you spend? We said, we might be able to go $115, $120 a month. A month. So he said, well, why don't you buy one? And we said, if you can show us a house that we can buy for almost nothing down and $120 a month, sure, we'll take a look at it.
So that's what we did. We took a look at this house, and we called my parents and asked them if we could borrow $500 from them because I had just gone to New York and I blew everything I had. So my parents sent us $500, and we put that as a down payment on this house, which was a lovely, lovely little house.
And the house was $115,000.
At first, but then we were rebated. We got rebates. Can you imagine?
No, it was $15,000.
Oh, 15. Oh,
What was it 15 or 115?
Couldn't have
No,
been
I forget.
115. Couldn't be 115.
maybe it was 15.
It was $15,000. That's right. And our payments were $113 a month, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And the next year, because they were over withholding
Can you imagine
payments,
that?
the payments went down to $111.
Incredible.
So that was our first house.
And then what street was that on?
That was on, let's see, Rhodes.
Rhodes,
right,
yes.
And then what was the next house, Mom?
The next house was also in North Hollywood, just a short distance away, and that was
Teasdale?
Teasdale, yes.
And we loved that house too, and had lovely, lovely neighbors. And we still keep in touch with Edie Bramer.
Well, that house, was I born when you were living in that house?
In that house, I think so. Where was Leland born?
No. Well, maybe.
Because
I
we
think
moved into
so.
Irvine in 71,
And you were born in...
68.
You may have been
you were born in that house,
in
yes.
Teasdale. Yes.
And then you moved to Irvine,
Yes.
And then Irvine on Nantes Circle until
Yes.
86. Then
We moved to the desert.
Then we
Palm
moved to
Springs.
Palm
Palm Springs.
Springs. And then we moved to La Quinta, and then to Buckeye,
Arizona.
Arizona.